Hey, Drutter here. It's the 31st of March, 2020, and it's the 16th day of my quarantine lockdown here in British Columbia, Canada. And this video just has a few things from around the world, some news and headlines and things that caught my attention today, and some stuff that's going on personally for me here in my life in quarantine. So thanks for watching along wherever you are in the world, and your comments and upvotes and shares and so on are appreciated. Thank you very much. And I want to start off by saying, if the virus is real, see my heated debate yesterday in the comments section on day 15, wow, about whether or not there is even such a virus, or there is even something happening, or if it's all just a hoax, made up by the media, and there's no one actually sick, no one actually dying. There are people who believe that. Yes, there are many. Now they're starting to be less and less, but that's shameful that that's even had to have been debunked. I know it seemed very alarming and very strange at first, and almost impossible. And we know that the media lies, so as soon as it started to become a story in January and late January and early February, I know there was a temptation to say it's all a hoax, but we got to get over that now. It's the end of March, we're going into April. It's been a while now that we've known for sure that there are people dying, and there's almost 1 million now confirmed infected, and there's a heck of a lot more that haven't been tested yet. So this thing is spreading about the planet fairly rapidly. So let's pretend, or let's assume, or whatever we have to do, let's go on from here as though it is real. It does seem to be real to me, and I'm going to go on reporting as though it is really happening. Now, whether it was engineered, whether this has been done for a reason, I've talked about that for a long time. Rahm Emanuel said a crisis will never go to waste, all that kind of stuff, right? Yes, that is the case, but the virus itself is real, and it is an actual threat, so that's what I'm talking about here. But the good news is, in Italy, new cases are finally slowing down. Finally, the new cases, new infections. They're still testing as much as they were, but they're not finding as many new cases. So, that social isolation, that strict social isolation that they've been doing there, has been, hurting their people and hurting their social structures and their civil liberties, really. And which is the case all around the world, really. But the Italians have really been suffering it for weeks now, and so it's nice to see for them that the new cases are finally slowing down. It is very obvious now on the chart and the data. It is clearly the case that there are less people becoming infected now, so that's good. And that is a signal, I think, to the rest of the world that the harsh lockdowns and things that you're going through now are probably not in vain. It does seem to be at least effective in some manner. I don't know if it is the best plan that we could have come up with. I don't know that, but it's what they came up with, and it is being enforced. So it is at least nice to see that it's having a positive effect, and the deaths continue there. They're still dying in Italy, but deaths lag behind new cases, right? You get sick first before you die. It just makes sense. So they're seeing less new cases now, so they're going to be seeing less new deaths in about a week or so. And that is really good news. And it is, even you can see now the deaths do seem to be decelerating. It's not coming up as fast now. So even that is starting to turn around. They're seeing some really good news in the numbers now in Italy. They're still, it's still getting worse, but just the acceleration has come down. It's not accelerating as fast. And that is an indication that they are going to peak. And the pain that they're going through is going to start to be alleviated. Not yet, but soon. And Spain is almost as bad as Italy. They're following along. They're only a few days behind in numbers and just stuff breaking down and people having to die for no good reason. People have a regular heart attack and they go to the hospital for some regular care, some IV and some medication and stuff, and there's just nowhere for them, and they end up going back home and maybe sometimes not making it because they didn't get that basic care that could have prevented that next heart attack coming on that actually knocks them down and kills them. So people are dying of stuff that doesn't need to be killing them, even simple infections and stuff. There's no way to treat them, there's nowhere to do it, and there's no one to do it. And if you haven't worked in healthcare, or you haven't been a patient and been involved heavily in a patient's care and seeing someone go through something like a chronic condition for months on end and stuff like that, or weeks on end at least, you don't really understand how hospitals work. Like I said yesterday, these hospitals have to be ready for anything, and they have to be ready before the patients get there. People say, oh, I've seen some pictures of empty hospitals and such, and that's normal. That's what you expect in a place where they're expecting exponential growth, and we're seeing exponential growth of a virus and of cases and of hospitalizations. So you have to get the beds ready before and the staff ready before the patients needed it. Otherwise, patients suffer and die. So that's why we're seeing a little bit of empty hospital space right now. I myself had a elective procedure, just a simple day thing. Don't even need to mention what it is, but they were calling me trying to book this for a while, and I was putting it off after Christmas and New Year's and stuff, and then I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll probably get it done now, and then all of a sudden they stopped calling me. And then when I call them, it's like, no, we're not doing that right now. So what they're doing is they're stopping all elective procedures. Anything that's not important or life-threatening, they're not doing right now. And that's why there's some empty room. And that's great, because it's going to be needed. We're seeing in places like New York City, pandemonium. And people say, oh, it's fake, it's fake. It's like, what? There's hundreds of different news agencies all reporting on this. Some of it live even, showing patients, showing bodies, showing forklifts, carrying bodies and such. It's really happening. It really is happening. It's not a hoax, okay? It may be engineered, but it's not a hoax. It's really happening. Let's stop living in denial, people. Okay? It's actually happening. This is real. Okay? I don't know how to say it any more than that, and I'm not going to. That's that. Good news. Well, before I go to the good news, one more thing about Spain is they're spraying chemicals everywhere. In fact, everywhere, like just going down the roads, the streets, spraying houses, buildings, streets, parks, just clouds of, I don't even know what it is they're spraying. I guess I could look into it. I don't know if that's public knowledge, but whatever it is, that seems like a possible recipe for disaster. I don't know about human health concerns with that, or maybe environmental, or it might knock out a certain other bacteria and cause superbugs, for example. I don't know. Spraying disinfectant en masse into the environment and into cities. Has this been tested? Are we sure that's the way forward? I don't know. I guess they're very desperate in Spain. They're spraying the very sidewalks and the very roads and grass with chemicals to try and fix things. Okay, but the good news, there is an antibody test. Now, I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. The antibody test is ready. Yay! Well, various companies and labs have developed this antibody test, and they're going into production, going into, testing. The tests themselves have to be tested. But luckily, it's just you poke your finger and you get a blood droplet, kind of like diabetics. They poke their finger a few times a day often, type 1 anyway, and they get the blood sample, and the machine, tiny little machine that you can slip into your pocket or carry with you, goes beep, 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 and it tells you, oh, your blood sugar level's 5.5 or whatever. And then you know to eat or to hold off on eating or whatever, take insulin, etc. And this is just like that. And so it's going to be a little poke. You put the blood droplet sample on the machine or on a test strip or whatever, and put it on the machine. And I think it's a one-time use, so it's probably just drop it right on the machine or the strip, and it bloop, bloop, tells you after a few seconds. I think it's 15 seconds or it's 15 minutes. I don't know, but it's very short. It's done at home, and it's cheap apparently. And there's going to be multiple different companies offering it, so there's going to be kind of like a free market basically for this. And as long as it's effective, that's the only thing it has to be, is effective. It's not like a vaccine where we have to test that it's safe. That's why vaccines are going to take at least a year to 18 months from here to be ready, because they have to be determined to be safe in a long term. So you got to give them to people, and then you got to see if those people stay healthy and don't get whatever, don't get birth defects and don't grow another head and all that kind of stuff, because that can happen with new medicines. So that's why vaccines take a long time to make sure they're safe. But this kind of a test, you just poke your finger. We know what the risks of poking fingers are. It's very minimal, and so we can put that into effect right away. We know it's safe to do this test. We don't know for sure if it's effective, so that's why I said the test has to be tested. It's going to be tested for effectiveness, and just to make sure that it is testing for COVID-19, not all coronaviruses, which wouldn't make sense, because a lot of people have been exposed to other coronaviruses, which are colds, basically. So we need a specific test for this, and I think that's what the good ones are going to be anyway. And apparently they're cheap, done at home, finger poke, instant result, tells you basically if you're immune, because if you basically have the antibodies, that means you're immune. If you're positive for the antibodies, you're immune to that. You won't get that virus anymore, or if it ever comes to your body, your body will just instantly reject it to get rid of it. It sees it as a foreign invader. So it now recognizes that as foreign and removes it instantly. So you can be exposed forever from then on, and you won't get it. So that's what immunity is. You have immunity. And another thing about immunity is you're not contagious. By definition, if you're immune, you can't be shedding the virus. You can't be creating more virus in your body. It doesn't live there. It can't live in your body. So you're not creating more viruses and spreading it. So people who can get this antibody test can get themselves proven to be not contagious and immune. So therefore they are safe and others are safe around them. So that's the golden ticket right there, in my opinion, is this antibody test. And I don't know how fast it's coming to Canada, but I hear it's coming to the UK pretty quick. So I really hope it's coming here, and I don't know if it will be covered or whatever. If I have to pay for it, I'll find a way to I only have cash, but I'll find a way if they're going to make it so it's on Amazon only or something. I'll buy a prepaid Amazon card or something, right? I'm going to get it to happen, because that's the golden ticket, is this antibody test. If you can prove you're immune, and to this specific strain that's going around, this COVID-19, if you can prove you're immune to that one, and that you're not contagious, that makes you the perfect, a lot of things. It makes you the perfect healthcare worker, for one thing. Makes you the perfect family member to care for other family members. You can visit the old folks, as long as you're not carrying it on your things you're bringing. You don't have infected groceries with you or something like that. That's a whole other matter. But you yourself, you're not contagious. You will not be able to spread it to people. So that will make you a good person to send for the grocery store. They're saying, we can only send people to the grocery store once a week because you might be infected, and you got to go through, wear masks and go through this decontamination process when you come in the door and stuff. And it's like, man, if you have that golden ticket, that antibody test, I don't know if you can just carry it with you and show it to people. Look, I'm immune. But I don't think it'll be quite like that. But what I'm saying is we're getting closer to that point where we're going to be able to prove who's had it and who hasn't. And if you've been following this, you know that I may have had it. So I'm really limiting my exposure to the outside world. I had to go out a couple of times for groceries, literally for survival, medication and groceries to live. But we are not spreading this to anybody, absolutely. We are staying here and taking every precaution as well. But the three of us are feeling well. The baby boy and I are a little bit wheezy sometimes parts in the day. Sometimes if I have a shower, the moist air sometimes gets things going or whatever, and when he wakes up from a nap or something, he's been lying down for a while, he's wheezy, but then if you sit him up for a while and play with him, it starts to go away a bit. So I think we're probably on the mend, and in the next little while, if that becomes available, that'll be perfect timing. I'd love to get my hands on 3 of those tests and get us cleared, basically, so that we don't necessarily have to stay in isolation anymore. I'm not sure exactly that's how it's going to work, of course, but this is a start. And that's good news that this has been developed. And it's the free market that's developed this, in my understanding. It's various labs, companies, individuals, even people have put their knowledge and their resources on it and have come up with simple ways to test if you have this or not. But like I said, it has to be a test for COVID-19. We can't just have a generic coronavirus test that's going to test basically who've ever had a cold. That's not as useful. So I hope no one's actually putting those out, like generic coronavirus, cold antibody tests. But anyway, and some more information about here in Canada. There's 108 now dead. That is obviously escalating, that number. It used to be creeping up, not even one a day. It would just be days in between, and then it would be like, another 3 days happened, another person died, but now it's every day, and it's not just one per day, it's multiples per day. So that's too bad. And if you graph that on a curve, you can see where that's going. That's still headed exponential at this point. We have we're in lockdown here in Canada, but I think we are yet to see any effect from that. But Italy tells us that in another week or so we may see some of our numbers starting to turn around, so that'll be good if we do. And I'm going to stay on those, of course. 9,000 or so confirmed here in Canada. The US is projecting 100 to 240,000 deaths this year from this particular virus. Put that into perspective, the influenza virus, which everyone says, it's just a flu. Influenza virus, it was a bad year for this year for the influenza virus. Not the worst, but it was a bad year. And it killed about, it's hard to gauge the exact numbers, but say 30, 40, or 50,000, somewhere in there. Maybe 50,000 people this year were killed by the flu in the USA. And so they're saying it's going to be 100 to 240. So in other words, it's going to be 2 to 5 times worse than a really bad flu year. And it's hitting just at the end of the previous bad flu year. So, this is if those numbers are right, and I have had a look at the current confirmed deaths, which is 4,000, and it does seem to be right, looking at those numbers and where that's going, the curve. It's accelerating for sure. So, if that is right, then there's going to be 2 to 5 times more deaths than the flu. It's not just another flu. This is way worse than the worst year for the flu. Way worse. And the healthcare system's never had to deal with something that's way worse than that before, right? So when healthcare system breaks down, then more deaths happen. More deaths that aren't going to be attributed to this, but there are going to be deaths. There's going to be people dying, like there are in other countries, because there's not enough healthcare for them. So that's just where it is. What's happening? That's the news basically in the U.S. It does appear to be right. There are people dying. There's bodies, right? There are bodies. Whether or not these are being killed by this virus, we don't know. Maybe, like some people say, maybe they're being killed. They're being offed by a beam from space or something. I don't know, but they're being killed, right? Some people say. So maybe it's not a virus. I don't know. But there are dead people. There are a lot of dead people, and this number of these dead people seems to be going up. So however they're dying, and we're needing to find places for the bodies. There's nearly 1 million people confirmed infected. There's 42,000 dead in the world, so that means there's hundreds of thousands of family members that have their family members that have died from this now. Hundreds of thousands of people, and to say that it's all a hoax, that's to say all those people are in on it, or at least they've been duped, and they're helping to spread the fake news of the virus, and no one has figured it out, and no one has come forward with any proof otherwise. Anyhow, that was yesterday's video. I gotta stop getting dragged back down into that. In BC now, there are 128 in serious or hospitalized ICU condition. That number continues to rise, and 24 now dead. That is escalating rapidly. That's not just, there's no days in between deaths anymore, and there's usually more than one per day now. So that is rising, hockey sticking, as you can say. Now there's a community outbreak now here confirmed in the Okanagan, where I live. It's a few hours inland drive from Vancouver, a valley in southern interior BC, and specifically in Kelowna, that's nearby here. So yes, there is community outbreak confirmed now here, and I think we already knew that, but they're saying it's a cluster here. It's a hot spot now in my area. And social isolation here in BC is to continue. They say months even. So that's why we need the antibody test. I think we need to know who is immune, who is not contagious. Makes you the perfect, it makes you, I don't know, get out of jail free card. I'm not sure. It's like it makes you a queen on the chessboard, right? It makes you a queen on the chessboard. That's a weird thing to say, make you a queen, but you can go anywhere and you have any power and you can take down any other piece, basically. Except for the government, I guess. But that's another discussion again. So we need that antibody test. We need that so we can queen ourselves on the chessboard, and we can get out of jail, and we can move backward on the board, and we can go anywhere we want from that point on. And myself, people ask how I am. Oh yeah, but before I get into how I am, people keep on saying, I never saw that comment. You keep on saying, oh, there was a comment about this, and no one ever commented that. Well, that's because I'm uploading this to like 8 different places. So I have a lot of different platforms that I upload videos to, so this isn't just going on YouTube anymore. And hi to my people on BitChute, by the way. I only have 18 subscribers there. I'm not sure how that is with all the content that I've been putting up there. I think I was marked to not get new subscribers somehow there, shadow banned or whatever in the beginning because of cannabis content or something. But I do get a lot of comments anyway from my 18 subscribers over on BitChute. So hi to you guys. I can't comment back. They don't let me comment without getting a third-party thing, and I'm not going to. So, but anyway, thanks for your comments there. I do read everything, and on all my other platforms like Library and so forth, and Steam and Hive and Weed Cache and all these other different platforms that it's being uploaded to. Thanks for watching there, and thanks for sharing and upvoting and all those other things that help with the algorithms or help just to promote things and make them more seen. I appreciate that. And now, as for me, how am I? I'm doing fine because I've been in isolation for months. This is I live in BC. In the interior of BC, I'm not even on the coast anymore. We get real winters here. So I was inside. I've been basically inside other than like the weekly trip to the grocery store for 6 months, basically, since the baby was born. And so is he, by the way. He's not allowed outside in that weather, so he's never been outside. He's never been outside at all. He's never had fresh air. He's been in the house since he was born. So, he's perfectly healthy and perfectly happy, but at some point I want him to experience the rest of the world. So I'm thinking he can't be inside forever. And this is the time, this is spring, this is when you would normally emerge and venture out into the yard and smell the flowers and introduce baby to fresh air and sunshine and a breeze and all that kind of stuff. But now we are quarantined, and if that's going to get even more strict, it's going to be hard to take him out at all. It's going to be like that winter for him never ends, and he will live his first year, I guess, cooped up in the house. Hopefully we can get out before next winter because there's not a lot of time, even for a 1-year-old, there's not a lot of action outside in the winter. You really have to be bundled up and just kind of take him out for a minute and show him around and then take him back inside. It's not really playtime for 1-year-olds. So yeah, we've been isolated here for a while and we're okay, but it's springtime and we'd like to get out and get things going. I will get out into the yard and get more gardening done and stuff like that for sure, but to be able to leave the property would also be nice, other than that weekly grocery trip, of course, which I'm kind of skipping now anyway because we aren't sure without the antibody test whether or not we have had it, whether or not we might get it, or whether or not we might be contagious even, don't know. So it would be nice to have that antibody test, and then we can get back out into the community again and feel a little bit more normal. And I know a lot of people aren't feeling normal right now around the world, so thanks for watching this and commenting along and trying to keep things going as normal as we can. This is something that I've been doing for 12 years, is blogs and articles and so forth, so it is natural to me, and it's something that's therapeutic for me to do. So if you're not even interested in it, that's okay, because I'm doing it kind of just to get this up there on the blockchain, up there on other sites, and just have a record of it out there, and just sort of as my own therapy, I guess, because of what I'm going through and what we're all going through. So thank you for your input, and thanks for watching. Talk to you soon, and stay healthy.